Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Beyond Fulfillment Podcast. I'm your host, Dave Goulas of Easy DC 3PL. And this week, my guest is Domenic Maiani. Welcome,
Hey,
Dom.
Dave. Thanks for having me on, Dave. It's Lazio Search Group, but
Oh,
it's all good.
my bad.
Yeah,
Lazio,
all
sir.
good. All
Okay.
good.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you being here. If you could, for everyone, Domenic, could you just tell everyone what Lazio Search Group is and how it came to be?
Yeah, so we're an executive supply chain logistics, supply chain tech recruitment firm. How we came to this point is, I've been in recruiting for 13 years. A lot of my connections and contacts are in the supply chain logistics industry, tech industry. And when I broke off from my old partner 2.5 years ago, that's the route I wanted to go. For me, it was picking a fireproof industry, an industry that I love. It's just a lot of networking connections all across the country. And that's the route that we decided to niche down into. But as you know, Dave, supply chain logistics, that covers every industry, right? So we're even working with automotive companies, you name it, we're there. They need a supply chain manager, transportation analyst, wherever it is, we'll be there to help. So we find ourselves in many different industries. It's just part of what we've been doing, and it works out.
Okay. So now you got into recruiting right out of college, is that right?
I did. I fell into it, didn't know anything about it. I went to school for supply chain management in business, and one of my buddies was working at a recruiting firm. He got me in and said, "Hey, try it. You're good with people. You're good at sales. He's like, I think you'll like it." So I got into it, and I learned a lot from that founder, and that's the guy from Spark Talent, Aaron Opalewski. He's doing very well to this day. Um, I think he's bought 4 or 5 companies now, and he's growing his company like crazy. So I learned from one of the best in the industry. He's a local guy here in Troy, Michigan. Just a great guy, and I learned from him and his team there. And I've always, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, right? So I always wanted to get into my own business. And now that I have 3 kids, I'm like, hey, what can I potentially, build and then leave for them, right? And maybe they don't have to go to college and get into 200K debt, whatever it is nowadays, and this is the path I chose, and I love it.
Okay. So you mentioned you grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. So what was that like as a kid and kind of seeing like firsthand what it was like to run a business?
It's great. I mean, a lot of, families in, commercial real estate, construction, the food business, right? So I got takes from all different angles, and yeah, it's a tough road, right? Nothing's easy. Every day is going to have its challenges, but just like hockey, right? You learn to stay even keel. You're going to have your ups and downs, right? And it's just how do you deal with what's thrown at you and managing that. And I'm constantly learning every day, right? It's something that, I try to read and listen to podcasts, but it's a daily thing, right? You get a good mentor and you just follow their lead, right? And take what comes at you and bounce it off other people, surround yourself with a good circle. That's what's helped me get to where I am right now, right? So just having a good circle and even relying back on those old family members, they're old school Italian, hard headed, right? None of them went to college, but they're all very well off, right? So I'm not talking about just my family, I'm talking about my uncles, and we're close knit family, and that's where I learned a lot from them. It's just how to manage a team, how to build a business, but their old school ways might not work in today's environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
You mentioned the hockey there too. So I was looking at your background. So you were a big hockey player coming up, and you were close to making the NHL?
Yeah, pretty close. Yeah, I played college at Ohio State on a full ride scholarship. Played a couple years semi-pro, and I had 5 surgeries, and that kind of stunted, the plan there. So we went to Plan B, and what was Plan B at the time, I didn't know, right? And that's how I fell into recruiting. And good thing I did. It's just a buddy that pushed me into it. But yeah, I was close, right? I was World Junior tryouts, which if anybody that knows hockey knows it's the top 40 under 20-year-olds, under 18-year-olds in the country. And most of those guys that were on that roster are playing in the NHL or retired now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And being like a high level athlete for, up through college, how do you think those lessons that it takes to really compete at that level day in and day out, how do you think those have helped you transitioning into business?
Oh, it's tremendous. It's just like I said earlier, staying even keel every day. You got to work hard. Somebody's always trying to compete and beat you, right? And no matter what business you're in, every business is competitive, right? And it just I'm not willing to outwork the person next to me. The person trying to come up from behind me and take my spot. They're if they're going to beat me, they're going to have to compete with this standard, right? This is the standard I set for myself, for my team, and that's what they're going to have to come compete with. And a lot of people, it's especially coming from sports, it's a daily grind. That you got to put in the work every day. It's not just you, like Tom Brady said, you don't just go out and perform during the game. All the stuff that leads up to it, it's eating right, practice, watching film, tape, right? You can transition that and translate that into business now. What we do now is, for us recruiting, right, is looking at profiles, looking at the video interviews. How did they interview during that call? What was their posture? Were they sitting upright? Or did they have energy? We look for different things depending on each role, what profile the client's asking us to look for. But yeah, that's everything from hockey translate. That's why a lot of my team is, ex-athletes are hockey players. So
Excellent. Excellent.
yeah,
Yes. It sounds like it's a lifestyle, like that commitment to excellence day in, day out is just, it doesn't stop.
it has to be. I think that's no matter what industry, right? Yeah. If you don't have that, I mean, where's the bar, right? If you're not trying to be excellent, like you're just going through day by day, doing what, right? Like you got to set the bar somewhere, and then you try to aim for the next goal. All right, here's our goal here. Let's go to the next one as a team. Otherwise, you're just going through day by day, doing what, right? And you got to find a purpose, a meaning, and I think that's where a lot of athletes struggle too when they come out of, especially pro sports. You come out and let's say your career only lasts 3 years. Now what? You go from practicing 1 hour a day or playing a game on the weekend, a couple games on the weekends, to now what? Working 9 to 5. Can you do that? Can you sit behind a computer? How can we transition that into the business world? Um, so we look at each person, each profile different, right? And find a good match for them. But yeah, for me, it's helped me tremendously. Just the work ethic alone and knowing what it takes to play at a top level day in and day out. I transition that into the business world. It's no different for me.
Absolutely. So now you mentioned a lot of things that you do when you're trying to place talent and evaluate talent. So, and like you said, with the logistics industry, there's a large amount of, people related, interrelated businesses and companies, and a big demand for talent. What do you see as some of the major gaps or some of the ways that maybe people go about it the wrong way that creates problems and opportunities for companies like you?
Culture, hiring process. We could dig deep. We could unpack those, but culture, hiring process, and then also to compete in the market, you got to be at a fair rate, what fair market value for what that person's worth. And also a lot of these companies that have, let's say, set salary ranges. Well, if I bring you a candidate that let's say let's say the salary range is 130 to 150. Well, if I bring you somebody at 160, this is a perfect example. One of our clients just did it, right? We brought them three candidates, one at the lower end, one at the mid range, and one above the range. Who do you think they went with? The top, the person that was above the range. Why? They brought the most value, and falling back eight months later up with the client, right? What did they say? I would have paid double for this candidate. So I think that's where a lot of these, especially these bigger corporations, companies, because they have to fall in line with this structure and this level. Hey, but I think for smaller ones, you got a chance to get top talent and compete, do whatever it takes to get them up. And if that's, offering equity, figure out a way to get that filtered into their contract or agreement and make it happen. But it depends on what level of candidate we're talking about, but we can unpack all of that at different levels. But yeah, I think culture is a big thing. I see a lot of issues going there. If we're going to go to temp contractors level, yeah, that's a big problem, right? Somebody walks in, let's say you've had employees that have been there for 5, 6, 7 years, and they're at $14 an hour, and you bring somebody in at 16 because that's the only way you can get people in nowadays. Well, guess what? They're going up to somebody and saying, "Hey, Dave, I'm Dominic. I make $16 an hour." I know this because I came from that environment where I recruited. That's where I started. And I also get the feedback from my clients. Well, what happened? This person found out, so now we gotta bump everybody's pay up. We can unpack that even deeper, but yeah, that's a big problem.
Yeah, and it sounds like if what you're saying, right, a big problem with maybe the culture is just the way the company kind of runs those operations.
Yeah, not runs it, but I think they just have to, change and adjust with the times, and you can't be stuck at a certain. I understand your margins in this, but then maybe you have to adjust things to get the top talent. I mean, even at, if we're talking at 15, $16 an hour, your hourly rate employees, right? Well, what's a career path for them, right? How do you, instead of just making it a job for them that they might not show up in 2 weeks, give them a clear path. Say, hey, look, I have your best interest. I want you to go from, let's just say, a warehouse operator to, boom, boom, boom. Set the level, set a clear career path, a clear path, and whatever it takes. If they're showing up, they're doing the work, they're providing value. You got to find a way to keep that talent. And, a book I'm reading right now is called Your Next 5 Moves. It talks about that. It's a great. I think it's page 96 in that book. It's you read from that on. It talks about keeping, attracting and retaining top talent. You can use that at all levels too.
Yeah, and that's a Patrick Bet David book,
It
right?
is.
So it seems like you're a big fan of his. I saw you post on LinkedIn about the his other new book, Choose Your Enemies Wisely, and you were doing like a strategy session around that.
I did with him. I just love the way he operates. I love the way that his team, if you ask anybody that's worked for him in the past, they all love him. They'll speak great things about him. He wants everyone around him to be successful, right? I think that is a great leader. And that's what draws me to personally, right? So anything he puts out, I'm gonna read, and I watch his any podcast, YouTube video that he puts out, I listen to it.
Attention manufacturers and e-commerce sellers. Is fulfillment a headache for you? Whether you're fulfilling in-house and you know you need to outsource, or you're with another 3PL, you know you deserve better service. Easy DC 3PL can help. We offer personal service, fast response time, and we're flexible to meet your unique needs. Get in touch today and find out how we can help you.
He's a good mentor. He's a good example of somebody setting the standards of excellence and the bar higher than most people, right? That's what I like about him.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I remember I had one of his quotes too that really stuck with me too, and it was, if I'm remembering right, is how it was a big part of how he's been successful, and it's outwork, out improve, out strategize, and outlast. Maybe not in that order, but it was something like that.
Yeah, I could see him. I don't know all his quotes, but yeah, I have terrible memory. But yeah, I'm sure there's something around that. He's a beast, right? If you know him, look at his story. I think he dropped out of high school, right? So how did he get to where he's at, right? Hard work and then learning all the way through, day by day. He's constantly getting better. That's a great example,
For sure,
you know.
for sure.
And I think
Okay,
he just bought the Yankees.
yeah, I
A
saw that.
piece of
He's
a piece of them, yeah,
piece of the Yankees. Yeah, that's big time for sure.
for sure.
Um, So we talked about the culture and whatnot on the employer side. What are some of the challenges you see where, people on the labor side where they're looking to hire in and to up level where they're at, that some of the things that other people could do to improve?
Um, on the labor side, so you're talking about your hourly employees?
Well, I know you do a lot of executive placements too, right? Like
Yes.
executive level. So, I mean, we see challenges from the employer side with obviously needing to get the hourly rates up and making sure the culture is in line and there's a clear path for employees to do better and improve. What are some, I mean, obviously you're placing a lot of candidates, and like you said, the top talent, there's three of them. There's like maybe a lower end option, a middle end, and a high end. So clearly they'll pay double in some cases for the best talent. What do you see as some of the drawbacks were to people that maybe aren't that level, that people that are maybe looking to place and looking to get a higher level salary? And just to hear straight from a recruiter, what can they do to improve their value in the marketplace?
Well, you gotta show your value, right? It is you gotta get in, and if right now in this job market where it's challenging to get in, you see job postings that are posted 2, 3 hours and there's 1,000 applicants, right? So maybe you were making 150, 200K, but you might have to take a step back to show your value, especially in a market where there's money not flowing like it was a year and a half ago, right? Interest rates are up. It's a very competitive market. Everybody, we get 15, 20-year vets looking for that same position. You got to find your way to get in a door, get in a company. You might have to take a pay cut if that's what it is. Show your value and make yourself an entrepreneur, right? Should basically make it so like, hey, they have to keep me. Where you're creating that much value. It's like, hey, me as a business owner, I cannot lose this person. They are so valuable, right? You have to in this market moving forward because you gotta also remember there's AI is coming right behind, right? So there's a lot of positions that are going to be affected by AI. Uh, so I'm always looking at that. I think there was I forgot who said it. I think I posted it one time. It was like by 2035 or by 2040, 40% of jobs will be or can be replaced by AI. So
Yeah.
that's a scary stat to look out for, right? So what can you do now to help benefit you?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Because whether you like it or not, it's coming.
It's
And,
coming.
and I always like to think that technology helps advance societies and advance kind of ages that we're in. So, if AI can help automate a lot of the mundane and lower level tasks, that can, pave the way for expansion and people to be able to work on higher level things. But again, it depends on comes down to the people wanting to do the work and wanting to learn the new skills and wanting to evolve and expand and be able to fill those roles.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you have to be keeping up with AI, learning at least learning the basics of it, right? Like there's LinkedIn learning courses you can go to, YouTube videos. Um, it's going to help with your everyday tasks, right? And it's going to make your life easier, our lives easier. But don't get me wrong, there's going to be positions where it's going to replace fully. Um, so if you're in one of those industries, you might want to start looking at can AI replace me? And if it can, where can I use my skills and my abilities to go to a different market, different position.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're very active on social media. You post a lot on LinkedIn. So I saw I believe it was another podcast interview you did, and you basically were going into detail how when you started posting a lot more personal and family stuff, that your sales kind of just took off, just from kind of being more open about your personal life and letting people get to know you in that fashion. Can you
Yeah,
speak on that a little bit more?
that's funny that you brought that up. So somebody, that was from somebody in my inner circle. Somebody told me about that at a big company. I'm not going to name their names. But what he said, he goes, people relate, 'cause especially with all the AI nowadays, right? Every message is the same. For me as a business owner, I get emails all day, every day. We want to sell you this product. We want, okay, try this AI, try this new ATS CRM. If you're just being human, authentic, real, like that's what people want to see. That's what they want to work with, right? Like there's so many fake posts out there, and I think like that's what really has helped me for just being true to who I am and my background. I think a lot of connections with hockey, that's where conversation starts, and who knows where it ends up going, but it always starts with hockey or this, or hey, I have 3 kids, or hey, I see you went to a Big Ten school, um, whatever. It's just another way to connect with somebody. And we're in a world where everybody's on their phone all day, right? Or email or computer. So yeah, I think it's a huge benefit to let people know who you are, especially in my industry and what we do, and do they want to work with us? Do they not? Who am I working with? I think we're going to start doing that for our team too. Is letting them all put, having their profiles and social medias and building their personal brand. I think it's going to be huge moving forward. And I don't think it is. I already know it is. If you look at all, like Alex Hermosi, he's saying post 8 to 10 times per day per platform. You know, no. Do you have time to do that, Dave? Do I have time to do that? No, but we got to figure out a way to do that, because if you want to stay relevant, moving to 2024 and above, what are we going to do? We have to stay at people's on people's mind all the time. And a perfect example is I paid for a marketing course, right? And what the guy told me, he goes, listen, you just paid for my marketing course. He goes, what did I post yesterday? I go, I don't know. And he goes, exactly. He goes, that is why people like Alex Homrosi are telling you to post 8 to 10 times per day. Because people don't remember, they don't care, they get busy. You just gotta stay top of mind.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. And to your point, you can only talk about your business and the features and benefits, right? So you can
Right.
so much, right? There's got to be other content that kind of fills that gap.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, anything to point them to your website and draw traffic, stand out. I mean, because for me, for example, right, how many recruiting and staffing firms are there? There's a million, right? So I can give you the exact numbers. I know exactly how many there are, but it's just like for you in your industry, right? How do you stand out? Why are they going to work with Dave and Easy DC, right? And you just got to find your ideal client profile, target them, and say, here's our 3 differentiators, or here's why we're the best. Um, Whatever it takes, right? Like get that message out there.
Yeah, and actually to your point too, so I've been doing the podcast, it's very new, it's about 3 months in, and since it's taken up so much time with the content and the interviews and everything, I've kind of fallen back on like the self-promotion type of stuff. And in that same period, our sales and our customers we've landed have just gone through the roof. And I was scratching my head, and I just said, I think it's just because I'm letting people get to know me, and I'm not constantly selling, so to
You
speak,
are.
right?
That's exactly what it is. They see you. They see you're out here doing a podcast. All right, this person's working hard. They're getting their name out there. They want our business, right? It's not just somebody sitting behind a computer we don't know anything about. Like they see you out there. And that's why what a podcast I'm coming out with is going to be called The Real Route. And it's going to be interviewing C-suites and executives, and high level candidates that are in the supply chain logistics space, tech space, and say, how did you get to this level? Right? Because a lot of people are being told in college that, hey, you can get them out of college and you're going to get this salary, the blah blah blah. Well, that's not the case, right? Well, how do you get to become a VP of sales for a $7 billion company, right? What does it take? And I guess for me, that is just like the lessons I learned from hockey, it's a day in, day out grind. It's not, hey, you're gonna come in, here's your 150K base, and yeah, here's your 300 OTE. You don't just it's not just given to you. You gotta work like you wouldn't believe. And that's what the point of this podcast is gonna be, is be like, tell everyone, hey, this is what it takes to get here. And here's the real answers that you want to hear, that you're probably being told a lie, or looking at social media, or see this on Instagram, but that's not the reality. This is the reality.
Yeah, and to your point too, and I have several teenagers too, so they're already kind of in the system, right? As far as there's a big push about the college and all this stuff. And listen, nothing against college,
Oh,
but at the same time, that alone, right? There's so much more than that in terms of the work ethic, the results, the type of what the type of work you need to do on yourself to be able to provide that type of value to make the kind of money you want to make.
100%.
So much more than just the degree.
Yeah. Like I don't know if you can see the books behind me, but like psycho cybernetics, Think and Grow Rich, and just all these other books. Your five next moves, choose your enemies wisely. Um, all books recommended by other successful people that I listen to, but also personal development. But like for me, I'm hiring a performance coach on, just show me how to eat right and train, and just track my sleep, and am I getting the REM? Am I getting the deep sleep? Everything to be the best to play at the top level, right? Because as you go through life and you start getting in certain circles, you'll level up, right? And you're like, okay, well, now these guys are doing this, or these girls are doing this. How do I get to the next level, right? And then for me personally, that's what I'm always trying to look to do and get better. And how do I get to that next level?
Yeah, and that's a common thread because all the people I interview for this show are entrepreneurs and founders often, and there's just that common thread to where it never ends. It's a never-ending
No,
quest to be the absolute best version of yourself, and to obviously that impacts your business and all the other things, all the other parts of your life.
yeah. So for me, I got three kids here, right? So I got to go full blast all day, and I'm taking calls while I get home because I got clients in California. But how do I turn that off for a little bit? Play with the kids, be there. Everything I'm doing now is so I could be there for their sporting events when I'm coaching. Right now, they're 3, 2, and 6 months old, right? So I want to build up everything I can now so I could be there for them when I'm coaching their hockey teams or baseball, football, dance, whatever it is. I'm not gonna coach dance, but be there for every recital, whatever it is for my daughter.
Yeah, very, 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 very noble and great that you're thinking ahead like that and putting the work in now so you can make that happen.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that is. Yeah, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say another thing too you post quite often about is the EOS system. So and I talked to someone that you put me in touch with at your company that I think did the 1 day training and kind of implemented that for you guys. Can you just speak to
Yeah.
how what the type of impact that's had for you?
So we're implementing that as we speak, right? And it's just putting the right people in the right seats if you want to scale and grow your business. There's a podcast I listened to today. He talked about it at the end, and I can send it to you after, Dave. But it was amazing. It's all about putting the people in the right seats. Everybody's accountable, and then hey, all right, let's say for me, I'm the visionary, then you got the implementer, then you got sales and marketing, which can be broken off, and then you got, different levels. I don't know if you have you read the book or checked it out yet, but um it all just letting people take ownership of their role, take pride in it, and that's how you grow the company. It's like, hey, this is your department, your role, but here's our collective goal as a team is to get to this, and then that's where we have the level 10 meetings, and that's we go through the data, break down the numbers. But if somebody hasn't read the traction book or knows the EOS system, I can connect you with. Actually, I just found this out too. I met with this guy. he basically could well this is what their company does. They can send you if you need an implementer, if you need whatever it is you need, they are EOS trained and they can send them right to your team and fit in, and they'll find out, like that's what this company does for, yeah, for everybody, multiple companies around the world.
Okay. Excellent.
Yeah. I was pretty shocked when I got on the call, and I was like, wow, there's a company that only works around the EOS and sends it to basically like a recruiting firm, but they're only staffing EOS people, people on different levels.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So, we're at the end of 2023. Clearly it's been a challenging year for the logistics industry as a whole. Um, Being that you're on the front lines here, placing talent and recruiting, what do you see ahead in 2024 for the logistics industry?
So what I see is a lot of companies that will be struggling to get, not struggling, but they'll be vying to get the best talent, right? I think there's going to be probably some downsizing. A lot of people got into, let's say, just brokerage space, right? When rates were crazy, everybody was making money before, COVID, during COVID. That's gonna all probably compress, and some companies are gonna be, go out of business. Some companies are gonna be bought up. But I think it's gonna be a fight for the top talent, especially at the high levels. Uh, and I also, depending on where the next election goes, we'll see. But don't like to talk politics, but that could have a big impact on where things go too. But I think supply chain logistics overall, it's not going anywhere, right? The malls are shutting down. There's more and more e-commerce stores opening up. Where are they going to store that? Where's the warehousing space for that? Everybody needs that. So I think you're in the right spot for sure. Now, on the tech side of that too, which tech companies are going to be making plays? Wise Tech Global is buying up a lot. There's a lot of acquisitions happening right now. So we'll see what 2024 has in store, but I think depending on rates and stuff, we'll see growth, hopefully.
All right.
What do
Yeah,
you
and
think?
well, so like you said, right? Challenging economic environment. A lot of companies are downsizing, and it's funny, right? We talked about Patrick Bet-David's. Another thing that I just popped in my head that he says, and I think we're seeing this play out, is he said, strong people create good times create weak people create bad times create strong people. And that's in a nutshell the economic cycle, right? So I think we're seeing kind of getting out of a lot of complacency, a lot of easy money at a macro level, and I think we're seeing kind of the downside of that. And it's gonna, I think, tough times are gonna force a lot of people to improvise or go back and get stronger, or eat less, so to speak.
Right, right. No,
Um,
if you're not planning for 2024 and with those factors in mind, right? You're either gonna be eating a lot, steak or hot dogs. The old school sales guys tell me, steak or hot dogs. What do you want to be?
yeah.
I prefer steak, so I'm going that route. You know,
Yeah.
but yeah, is it gonna be challenging? Yeah, but it's all your mindset too. For me as a recruiter and firm, there's always gonna be companies looking for top talent, right? So if I don't already have them, we already have a great customer base. But if let's say we want to add on some more clients, we'll go and get them.
Yeah.
That's a mindset we'll have.
And I'm sure we can all relate to hiring the wrong talent or to the wrong people in the wrong roles. But like you said, that top talent it's priceless, right? Because it's not commonplace when you find that right person that can fill those roles and do what's needed at a high level. And like you said, or you do whatever it takes to make them happy and to keep them retained.
Yeah. Well, there's a podcast, Andy Frisell, it's about entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs. Everybody sees all this flashy stuff on Instagram. But if you want to come sit in my chair for a day and see deal with the CPA, the bookkeeper, the taxes, this, that, it's not always sunshine and rainbows over here. Trust me, it sucks some days. But, that's just part of owning a business. But can you be a great entrepreneur somewhere and look at, what's his name? Ballmer, right? Look at those guys.
Yeah.
What, there's a lot of opportunity if you want to find it.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and Domenic, if people want to get in touch with you, whether they're looking for work or maybe they're a business that's listening to this that's looking for top talent, what's the best way people can get in touch with you?
On LinkedIn, I'm always on LinkedIn, or you can go to laziosearch.com, or info@laziosearch.com.
All right. Excellent. All right. Well, Domenic, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it. Again, we'll put his contact info up on the screen, and that's all the time we have for now. And we will see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave.